Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot, Nikita, for starting the recording. Okay, so thank you and welcome to all of you. Welcome to all of you guys in our first session, and a very good morning to all of you guys who are in India, and a very good evening to all of you guys who are in US. Yeah, so let's start. Am I audible to all of you guys? Can you confirm in the chat box? Yeah, yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for your confirmation. So let us begin. So today basically we are going to start with sourcing project. Now, generally what happens is like whenever I start with sourcing project, what happens is like majority of the Ariba consultant, they will come to me and they will say, Are Manoj, whenever we are talking about template, right? We are having sourcing project template, different sourcing project template, right? So let's talk about that. Then I will say, hold on. The thing is like, have you ever seen how basically architectures will basically design the building and then build the building? Have you seen anywhere where the building is happening first, designing is happening second? All of you will basically say, Manoj, have you gone mad? First, we will do the designing, then we will do the building or build it. First design, then build. Exactly. Why? Otherwise, it will be haphazard. Chaos will come in. Somebody will basically build it in a modern way, somebody will likely to build it in an old way. What will happen? The end result is non-usable. Same thing over here. So whenever we go to sourcing project, I'm not talking about just sourcing project, I'm talking about all the um, products of Ariba. Okay, why is it so that you will say that I need to first design it? Because designing and building go hand in hand, and it is always in this sequence. Same thing with each modules of Ariba. So if you basically say, Manoj, I will go to the template, I will do the configuration first, then I will say, when you go to a project, when you go to a project, what you do first? You will immediately start the configuration? No, right? Manoj, we will basically do what? We will basically first gather the requirement, understand the requirement in detail from the client. Once we understand, then we will know what is the scope of the configuration, what we have to do the configuration. Same thing, what architecture does. First, they will understand the requirement of the client who wants to build a building or a home. Once they understand that, then they are going to basically design it, show it to the client. Once they approve it, then the building will happen according to that plan. Same thing also in Ariba. So what happens is like few of the consultant, when they come to our session, they will say, "Hey Manoj, let's go to configuration." Are boss, anybody can learn the configuration guidebooks. Anybody can study that thing, and they'll say, "Oh, we can do this task. We can do this condition in template configuration." But you will see with that knowledge, when you will go to a project, the first question which your client will ask is, how many templates we are going to use? Determine that. Huh? Are that we have never understood. Why you have not understood? Because we haven't done the designing. That is why I said to all of you guys in our demo session that when you're coming to Ariba, Ariba is very different. Cloud solutions are very different from on-premise solution. So first and foremost thing, you have to understand that thing. So to understand the configuration, first you have to understand the process. Now in process, we will basically talk about generally how the requirement comes. Now first and foremost thing is basically we are going to talk about that in template you can do the configuration. Like, okay, which option the functional consultant will configure, which option they will give it to the end user. Yes, that kind of option is there in sourcing project templates. So now, as a functional consultant, how will you determine that I will configure this? The other configuration options I will basically pass on to the end user. How will you determine that? When you go to the business rule configuration in sourcing project template, this is the second question which you're going to encounter. That okay, which business rule you as a functional consultant will configure and which you will pass on to the end user. Yes, that's very important. Again, if we go directly to the configuration, this kind of issues will be there, and these are the things which you will see in the project. That is why I said to all of you guys in our first session that our task in these training sessions are to share the project experience which I'm having, so that when you go to a project, whenever clients give you requirement, you will say, oh, I know about it. Yes, Manoj showed us this business scenario with 3 parameters. Now client is asking me to do the configuration based on 4 parameters. Yes, I will add one more parameter, but I know how to do this configuration, how to build up the solution. That is the goal. So that is why first and foremost thing we are going to understand the process. But remember, this is not an end user process. No, we are going to basically see the best practices which we use in this sourcing project process. Now, before I go to the screen and I basically show you how to create a sourcing project and all those stuff, can any of you guys remember the definition of sourcing which we used in our demo session? What do you mean by sourcing? In one sentence, somebody asks you, how would you define it? That we have basically discussed in our demo session. You can share your views in the chat box, guys. Tendering process, correct. RFP process, correct. But I have given a very small definition, of sourcing. Identify the supplier, correct. Find the best source of supply, exactly correct. What we are doing, in that particular thing, we are, finding out the source of supply. That's it, nothing else. So sourcing is what? Okay, very correct. Now, yes, this is another thing. Okay, in Ariba, we can have catalog item as well as non-catalog item, right? We understood that concept. So in sourcing, which type of item we can use? Catalog item or non-catalog item? Share your views, guys, in the chat box. Now, majority of you guys are basically saying non-catalog items. Some of you guys are saying both. That is why, see, for majority of you guys, yes, you are correct. See, even when you give a wrong answer, please don't feel, Are Manoj, I have given wrong answer. No, I did not ask for your answer. I did ask for your views. And why I'm asking the views? This is very, very unconventional. Lot of participants ask me, Manoj, you're very unconventional. Yes. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to recall our demo session. I said to all of you guys, demo session is free. It does not mean it does not have value. It has a lot of value. It is stepping stone. Okay, just a moment. You can't see my notepad. Okay, let me just unshare my screen and share it once more. Are you able to see my screen now, guys? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your confirmation. Now, why I was asking these views? What is sourcing? Sourcing is applicable for which catalog item or non-catalog item? Because in our demo session, what I have told that sourcing is part of upstream, and in upstream database is different, downstream database is different. So in upstream you will have only non-catalog item. In downstream you will have catalog item. Oh, so that means Manoj, since sourcing is part of upstream, we can do the sourcing only for non-catalog item. Exactly. This is the definition of sourcing. So why we recall this thing? Because this is very, very important that you should understand that in upstream we cannot have catalog item, only non-catalog item. Yeah, and please don't feel, hey Manoj, if I share my views, if it is wrong, very good. Think of it very good. Think of it like an opportunity. An opportunity to correct your views. Why? Because here, if you correct your views, nothing will happen. But in the project, if you make that mistake, there it will lead to escalation. I'm there to help you out. So please don't, think that, the views which I may write in the chat box, it might be wrong. Nothing will happen. Even if it is wrong, you can get it rectified. So you will know, you will understand that, okay, I have to give a little bit more hard work on this thing. Exactly. But what will happen then? When you will go to the project, then there you will not have escalations. That is the goal. Exactly. And please don't think that Manoj is so knowledgeable. I have made worse mistake than all of you guys. Yeah. Yeah. I still make mistakes. Still make mistakes. Every day is a learning for me, even now also. So please don't think like that. Okay. So this is the definition of sourcing. Now I discussed RFI, RFP. What does this means? Request for info or information. Guys, those of you who are not able to see it properly, fully maximize this go to training screen. Yeah, you will see at the top right hand side, there is a option to maximize it. I have already maximized my screen, and if you see the font which I'm using is 24. It's quite big. Yeah, so please maximize. You would be able to see it very properly. Exactly correct. Request for information. And this is request for proposal. Okay, RFI and RFP. Now, generally, if you would not have known, you would not have known that we will do sourcing only for non-catalog item. Whenever I will ask any Ariba consultant, they don't have this information that sourcing is done for non-catalog item. I will ask them, okay, when you will do RFI, when you will do RFP. RFP means, Are Manoj, request for information. When we will have it? When we are buying for something new. Immediately that Ariba consultant will say, this is for non-catalog item. Okay, very good. Acha, when you will do RFP? RFP means we have bought this thing before. So like I will only ask the price. So this is catalog item. They will say. Majority of the Ariba consultant will say like this. But all of you guys understand this is a wrong statement. This is a wrong statement. Why? Because the upstream database will not support catalog item. So how will you have a RFP with catalog item? That is not present. Now, so congratulations, you have understood the issue now. Exactly. So majority of the Ariba consultants, they won't understand the issue. Now the issue is, for RFI you are having non-catalog item, for RFP you are having non-catalog item, and client will ask you when to do RFI, when to do RFP. Maximum of this Ariba consultant who don't know, they will say RFI non-catalog item, RFP catalog item. Okay, client will be happy. But when they will go to the testing phase, there what will happen? Escalation. Where is catalog item? I cannot find catalog item. Huh? Then they, the Ariba consultant will write a mail to SAP. SAP will say catalog item is not present in upstream database. Huh? At that point of time, there will be issues. But that first trouble, we skipped it. Why? Because understand that RFI, RFP both will be for non-catalog item. Now the next trouble which will come over here is, they will immediately ask you, Are Manoj, when RFI, when RFP? Now this is a question which is very, very important for all of you guys to understand. Why? Because you will see that when you go to a project, your client will say, Are Manoj, RFI will take at least 1 month. RFP might take 1.5 months. So every time I want to do some sourcing, 2 months to 3 months it will take. So that cannot be the general timelines for a sourcing project, right? So you tell me when to segregate, how to segregate RFI versus RFP. Now the issue is both of them are non-catalog item. Now, suppose any of you guys are basically traveling in ship, Andaman cruise we will go, or Malaysia cruise, or whatever may be the thing, right? You will go in a ship, stay in that ship for few days, enjoy your vacation. So when you go into the ocean or in the sea, how will you measure it? Now, many of us who have not went over there will say kilometers, kilometers. But in actually, in the ship, and every measurement is done based on NKM or NM, nautical mile. That nautical mile is not equal to 1 mile. It's very different. Why? Because it's a nomenclature which is to be used in the sea. So the normal mile which we talk about, this is nomenclature which we will use on land. So that means you need to understand non-catalog item from whom? Of course, from the Ariba perspective. Now, you have to ask yourself this question. For whom you are implementing Ariba? Client. What is the client perspective? Because ultimately, you should remember, the client perspective will be on top of what? Ariba perspective. So you have to be very, very clear on this part. So let's take some example. Okay, rather than just going to theoretical, let's go into example. So today we are having Dell XPS now. Let me ask all of you guys, these are the three items which you can see. What from a client perspective, what are they? Catalog item, non-catalog item, which one? Okay, let's talk about the first line item. Dell XPS model 2022. Is this a catalog item or a non-catalog item? From client perspective, I'm not talking about Ariba perspective. From a client perspective, share your views, guys. The majority of you guys are basically saying catalogs. Anybody who want to say non-catalog? Okay, few of you guys are basically saying non-catalog also. So let us understand that. I will go to a owner, business owner, and then I will ask, "Hey, boss, Dell XPS model 2022." Then he will say, "Yes, yes, Manoj." The thing is, just a moment. This XPS model, it is present with us from 2010. Okay, so every year, what you will do? So every year we will release a new model of Dell XPS. Okay, so from the business owner perspective, they are saying that this model is not new. This model is old. What we are doing, we are bringing a new iteration every year. Then I will ask, okay, catalog item or non-catalog item? They will say almost like catalog item. Then I will ask, Are, but for the first time you are going to do this procurement. And they will say, Are, this Dell XPS model 2021 versus Dell XPS model 2022, if you do, what 2021 was a laptop and 2022 what it became? It became a car. Then I will say no. Then he will say, Are, it is laptop, right? What is happening is like we are uh, getting a new processor, okay, and we are giving backlit keyboard extra 2022. But does it matter? Why? Because they are performing the same functionality. So whether it's 2021, whether it's 2022, this particular model is what? Is a catalog item to us. So client will immediately say, "Arey boss, this is like a catalog item." Now I am not going to say fully catalog item because it might uh, cause confusion in your mind. I will say almost like catalog item. Now what about Dell XPS model 2023? Share your views. So non-catalog item means those items which you have never bought before. You have never procured it before. That is non-catalog item. Catalog item means you have already procured it before. Now you want to procure it again. That's the difference between catalog and non-catalog item. Now, Dell XPS model 2023. Let's say we are in December 2022 and we have started ordering Dell XPS model 2023. Non-catalog or catalog from client perspective. Now, majority of you guys are saying non-catalog. Only one of you guys are saying catalog. Again, I will go to the business users, and they will. We will ask, "Are newer model, newer model, 2023." Oh, so Manoj, we are thinking about giving a OLED screen. Oh, OLED screen. That's good. That's good. Like I will enjoy working in this Dell XPS 2023 model. Why? Because you're giving OLED screen. OLED screen is very good for working as well as for watching videos. It's a pleasure. Very good. But catalog or non-catalog? Then again he will say, is this a car? This is a laptop. What we are doing? In 2023, we are bringing a new laptop. But is this a new product line? Immediately, the business users will say, no, this is from 2011, it is coming. So it's a newer model, a newer iteration, not a new product. It's not a new product. So that means in this case also, your business users are saying, ki, it's a catalog item, almost like catalog item. Now we come to Dell new smartphone X. Dell is saying, Are Manoj, we are happy, to launch a very new product, new smartphone X. We have never done it before. We are producing it, So, please tell your friends to buy this new smartphone. So what is it? Catalog or non-catalog? Now here all of you guys are saying, Ki Manoj, this is non-catalog. Yes, exactly. I will go to the business users and I will ask, is this a catalog or a non-catalog? They will say, it is non-catalog. Why? Then I will ask why. Arey, what do you think? I will use the motherboard from laptop. I will use the battery from laptop. I will use the camera from laptop. I will use the screen from laptop. No, because that's the form factor we have to consider. So that means your business users will be saying, Manoj, the motherboard, the screen, the battery, the camera, the RAM, everything in phone will be different from laptop. I don't know anything about it. So first and foremost thing, what will happen? Client will immediately say, I want to gather information about this products. Once I gather the information means what? Request for info. Then we will go for request for proposal. So this is non-catalog item. Now, the client perspective. What about Ariba perspective? Ariba will say, boss, Dell XPS model 2022. This I am not able to find any record earlier. 2021 is there, but that's a different item. So this is a non-catalog item. Okay, 2023, I'm not seeing it before. So this is the first time I'm seeing it because the description is not matching 2022 and 2023. So Ariba will say this is also what? Non-catalog item. And by default, new smartphone X, it's by default a non-catalog item. So Ariba will say this is a non-catalog item. Now you understand why this issue happens. So see, I'm not only teaching all of you guys Ariba. That is not just the goal. The goal is to go into a project and try to link the Ariba system with client's requirement. That is our goal. At the end of the day, when you will go to the project, how will you work? How will you get paid? This thing, client perspective versus Ariba perspective, then you will map it. Now you are seeing there is a discrepancy in client perspective versus Ariba perspective. How will you handle it? Because if you can handle this thing, then you can immediately say to your client, Arey boss, in this case RFI, in this case RFP. This is the starting point. So this is an example. But he will say, Manoj, Arey, I might not go into IT company, IT hardware company. There I will not implement. I will implement in oil and gas or pharmaceuticals. So how we will do it, Manoj? Excuse me. So that is where, as a business analyst, functional consultant and business analyst, we have to understand it. Okay, so new product line. It's a new product line altogether. Okay. When you see new product line, you must understand from the client perspective, it is what? It is always a non-catalog item. Why? Because the client does not know anything about this product line. So they will try to gather information first. So from the client perspective, this is always non-catalog item, but old product line might include newer models. So XPS 2022, 2023, then in 24, 2024, then in 25, 2025 will come. But is it a new product line? No, no, it is not a new product line. It's what? It's a new model for the old product line. So immediately your client will say, now you understand that when you will go to any project of Ariba, ask your client, is this a new product line? Yes, then it's a non-catalog item for you. Is this an old product line with newer versions or newer models? Yes, that is catalog item, almost like catalog item. Now your client and you are on the same page, correct? We should not be going ahead with only Ariba's perspective. That is what standard trainer does. Standard trainer will basically teach you normal Ariba. But this perspective, if you take it and in the project you go, there will be issues. Okay. So now you are very, very clear that these two questions I will ask, I will understand. Okay, which is like non-catalog item, which is like catalog item. Now, non-catalog item, of course, in this scenario, you have to begin with RFI. Almost like catalog item, RFP. But these are the definitions of what? Client perspective. From Ariba perspective, we are using non-catalog item. See, now you are understanding that when Ariba is saying ki boss, RFI, RFP, it is falling within sourcing. Sourcing is falling within upstream. So you have to use non-catalog item for both of them. Yes, yes. But if it is a new product line, then only I will go ahead with RFI. If it is an old product line which might include newer models, always RFP. Both of the items, whenever we will use, whether it's RFI or RFP, from Ariba perspective, it is non-catalog item. But from the client perspective, we have defined the process. This is what your client is asking. This would be the main question, main first question when you will go to a project in sourcing, you will basically encounter it. And that's the answer. Now, before I go ahead, how many in a year, how many times do you think your client is going to launch a new product line? Share your views. Percentage. Out of 100% products, every year, how much percentage will be new product line? Again, please don't think, Manoj, if I give, if I tell you 80%, 90% or 100% also, like whatever may be the percentage, even if I'm wrong, nothing will happen. I'm here to rectify it. Now, some of you guys are saying 10%, 15%, 10%, 2%, 50%. Now, remember one thing. Remember one thing. I know because I also think in the same way as you do. Let's talk about this phone maker. Arey Manoj, so many phones. And look at Samsung, Galaxy this, Galaxy that, M32, M52, A51, A52. Arey, what is this? Now, in this case, If I'm talking about this one, how many are new product line? In this example, how many are new product line? Samsung phones, smartphones. Almost none. The only example which I can give is Galaxy Fold. You know that Fold phone which came right from Galaxy. That was a new product lineup. Rest of all these things, Galaxy S, Galaxy M, Galaxy S, A, whatever may be the thing, those are pre-existing product lineup. They are reiterating it with a new version every year. But one new product lineup, I will say Galaxy Flip or Galaxy, that foldable phone was there, right? From the Samsung. I think previous year it was launched. That was a new product line. All of the other are old product line. Because you go to any organization, excuse me, you ask them that new product line when you're coming up with, they will say, huh? New product line? Have you gone mad? Because certain Ariba consultant in front of me will say 70%, 80%. Then client will say, okay, explain it to us. We know about it. We are doing this business for last 20 years. You explain it to us. The thing is like, we should not view it from the viewpoint of what? We should not be viewing this thing not only from the Ariba's perspective, but from the client perspective, neither from the customer perspective. Galaxy M, Galaxy A, Galaxy S, these are different product lineup for whom? For the customer, not from Samsung's point of view. Samsung will say that foldable phone is a new product lineup, but everything else is old product lineup. So that's the point which we need to be focused. You have to be very focused on that part. Okay, so you do understand that will be somewhere around 2 to 3%, not even that also. In majority of the big project, even when we go to this, Procter and Gamble, Unilever, and you will go over there, these are very big organizations. You ask them how many new product lineup, they will say maybe 1% or 2% every year. That is also not fixed. That is also not fixed. And since this is not fixed, what he will do then? So this is basically a very important thing for all of you guys to remember, that it will be not even 1% or 2%. So that is why I was saying to all of you guys that when you're coming to Ariba is very different from ERP. In ERP, in MM, what happens? Everybody customizes each and everything. They customizes each and everything. And once they customizes each and everything, what happens? The process become very bad. But in Ariba, what happens is customizations will be very less. Yes, configuration will be there. Standard, the configuration, we will basically use it. But the understanding of the process are very different. So that is where you have to keep this thing in your mind. Plain and simple. Okay. So that is why, please don't think in MM whenever we will go, we will have RFI first, then RFP. In Ariba, it is not like this. Only 1 to 2% you will use RFI. That means all of you will say 98 or 99 percentage, Manoj, we will basically use RFP, or the starting point will be RFP. Exactly. Now, let's go. Let's go and create a sourcing project. So I will click on create sourcing project. I will go basically, and I can basically find it from here. Okay, just a moment. Just a moment, guys. Are you able to see my screen? Yeah, yeah, thank you. Now, all of you will be asking me that, Manoj, why you are basically asking us this option? What's the requirement? See, you can see here full project and quick project, right? What does it means? It means RFI first, then RFP. Quick project means what? RFI or RFP, you can choose. Now, your client will basically ask when to use full project, when to use quick project. Why? Because full project means RFI first, then RFP. Quick project means either RFI or RFP, either or, not both. So when you will choose full project, when you will choose quick project. And Manoj, why you are asking this type of question to us? Why are you asking this type of question? Then I will say this type of question will be asked by the client to you when you will go for implementation. They will immediately ask. Ah, exactly correct. Exactly correct. Here he will not choose RFI, he will choose RFP. See, this is the thing which majority of Ariba consultants don't understand. What they think is like they will be coming from and they will try to implement a solution as it is, which was in same thing in Ariba. So what will happen? As is, when the client is migrating from to Ariba or SRM to Ariba, what they will do? As is and to be are same. Boss, after the go live, client will face so much of issue and they will say that why we migrated to Ariba. They will ask this question to Ariba. Ariba will immediately say the implementation is not up to the mark. Why? Because the client's requirement was not clear or not clearly taken. Client has given the requirement, but the question, the detailing part of the client requirement was not clear. The second thing is in Ariba, how we will implement the solution. That also we don't know. That is why almost the first 1 hour of today's session, I spend on this thing. When to use full project, when to use quick project. Why? Because this is where I find majority of the Ariba consultants struggling. As I told you guys, right? When you're building the home, your home only, if the base is not strong, what will happen? The building will collapse. If the base is strong, not only the ground floor, you can construct till fifth floor also, 10th floor also, 20th floor also. But for that, the base needs to be strong. So this is the base. Now, generally happens whenever I will tell to all of you guys in the demo session that we are going to have a look at the process. So majority of you guys will think, "Are Manoj, you're talking about the end user process." No, boss, I'm not talking about the end user process. These questions, as a consultant, you have to face and you have to design a solution for it. But I can only discuss this thing when we are in the process level. If this is not clear, then I will ask you this question: in which template you will do the configuration, RFI or RFP? What happens? Majority of ARIBA consultant will say RFI and RFP. Then I will say, your client who is going to use RFI for 1 or 2% kind of thing, they are going to ask you to create 10 templates for RFI, and for RFP they will ask you to create 2 templates. How is that possible? The process which will be used for 1 or 2%, they cannot ask you to create 10 templates for that. And the process which they will use 98 to 99% of the time, they cannot ask you to create only 2 templates for that. And if somebody is assuming like this, they are wrong. So in RFI template, what happens when you will go to the project? There, they will basically say, Manoj, leave it as standard. Only thing which you change is the approval workflow. Why? Because that is important. 3 levels of approval workflow you configure in the RFI template, done. Now, I come to RFP. Here, Manoj, first we need to determine how many templates we have to create. Then within the template, you can decide, acha, we will have a standard task, we will have a custom task, how the standard task will link with custom task, how we will control the visibility of the task using condition. Yes, we can make it dynamic. In certain scenarios, those tasks will be visible. In certain scenarios, the task won't be visible. One task cannot be completed before another task has been completed. This kind of relationship configuration also we can do it. Approval workflow configuration we will do. Then the business rule configuration we will do. So that is why. So please don't think, Manoj, process means end user. No, this is not end user thing. This is a fully functional consultant thing. And these are the things which you are going to encounter in the project. Okay. Now, what I will do? I will select quick project. Now, event type, same RFI, RFP, auction, all those things are coming. So we will choose RFP. Now, once we choose RFP, scroll down, you can see one template. So this template is coming from where? So first of all, this is a custom template. Now, excuse me, some of you guys will say to me, "Are Manoj, custom template? That means we are also having standard template also?" Yes. Then why we don't use standard template? Then I will say, why you will use standard template? What's the requirement for using a standard template? There is no requirement for using that. Why? Because standard template, please don't edit it in the real life, guys. This will cause issue. Why? Because against the standard template, from there we will copy and create a custom template. And there in the custom template, we will configure. And that custom template will be visible to the end user. Okay? Now, test project. Now, I think we have to talk about the Ariba portal. Actually, that is not the correct statement. Ariba generally call this thing as UIs. Yes, of course, you have to use custom template always. That means copy from the standard one and create your own custom template, and your end user will use that custom template. They cannot use standard template. Why? Because standard template is just used for reference purposes. Later on, you might need, once you do the implementation, after that in the support, change request might come. They, client might ask you, hey, Manoj, I need 2 new custom template. So from where you will copy? You will copy from the standard template only. So never change the standard template. Yeah. Even if you are doing just the approval changes. Now, let's say, for example, if you say to me, Manoj, I will just have the approval workflow changed, nothing else. So then also you copy from the standard template, and in the custom template, you just change the approval workflow. That's it. Okay. Now, as I was saying, Ariba UI. Okay. No, not portal. So there are two kinds of Ariba UI. Ariba buyer and Ariba network. Huh? Why, Manoj? If you're coming from MM or SRM background, what happens is like in both the cases, when you will have the portal, in the same portal, the buyer login and also the supplier. Yes, Manoj. So the buyer's logins and also the supplier. This is like, very, very simple thing. Why you're basically making it complex? Then I will say how system understand this is a buyer, this is a supplier with the help of rules. Very good. Now suppose you give a supplier a buyer administrative role. What will happen? In SRM or in FIOD, in MM, you by mistake assign a administrative buyer role to the supplier. What will happen? It will be a mess. Why? Because you can understand that supplier will be able to do all the configuration as that of the buyer. This can happen. It's a human mistake. It's a human mistake. Plain and simple. Now, now, the first and foremost thing which you need to understand yourself over here is in Ariba it is not like this. Okay, so how is it, Manoj? So in Ariba, what Ariba has done, they have given two different URL, two different user interface. One Ariba buyer, the second one Ariba network. So that means what? Okay. So Ariba buyer will be used by buyers only. Ariba network will be used by suppliers only. So this user interface which you are basically seeing, this is nothing but Ariba buyer. So in this UI, no supplier can log in. Similarly, Ariba network is a UI where the supplier will log in, not the buyer. Okay. Now the issue is in majority of the cloud project, because of prohibitive cost, it's a two system landscape. Means what? Test and prod means production. Yeah, we can have quality. We can have quality, but for that your client has to pay a lot of money. So they don't do that. So test and production. Very good. So what about Ariba network, Manoj? Production. Huh? So in Ariba network you don't have test. You directly have production. How is it possible? So here you should understand whenever a supplier logins, okay. So if that request in supplier onboarding is coming from a production system, what will happen? They will basically create a production supplier. And if the request is coming from a test buyer system, what will happen? They will basically create a test supplier. Even though supplier can switch between test IDs and production IDs. Just a switch option within Ariba network that is there. But please don't think if the supply switch to test account, they will log into the Ariba network test URL. Ariba network URL is only one, supply.ariba.com, and that is what? That is the production. But within that, Ariba has designed the flow in such a way that supply can tell or declare to Ariba, because this is a test account and this is a production account. Okay. Now, test project. What does it actually means? It actually means that in your sourcing project, which type of supplier you are using, production supplier or test supplier. When you say test supplier, so what will happen? Test project as yes. When you say production supplier, what will happen? Test project as no. No, Ariba buyer is not a upstream application. Ariba buyer is both upstream as well as downstream. Through Ariba buyer will log in and they can access both upstream as well as downstream. Again, it will depend. Why? Because this is a cloud. Okay. In certain organization, what I have basically seen is like, excuse me, they will say, I will buy only upstream applications. So in the Ariba buyer, you can only find upstream, no downstream. In certain cases, client will say, I need only downstream application, not upstream application. So when you log in into that Ariba buyer, what will happen? You will see only the downstream. Certain client who are paying too much money to Ariba, they will get both upstream as well as downstream. Okay. Yeah. So keep this thing in your mind. Now, test project. Yes means what? That we will use test supplier. No means what? We will use production supplier. Are very good, Manoj. But you tell me this is a test system, a test Ariba buyer system, right? All of you will say yes. This is a test Ariba buyer system. So Manoj, simply tell me, batao, how we will have production supplier in test environment. Then I will say test project does not matter. So in the test Ariba buyer side, it does not matter. So where it will matter? It will matter in Ariba buyer side, production Ariba buyer side. Why? Because if you say yes, so Ariba will know what? Ariba will know that you are using test supplier. But if you say no, what will happen? That means Ariba is understanding that this is a real project with real supplier. So sometimes in sourcing project in production, specifically some issue will happen. So what will happen? Ariba will use test project is equal to yes to test out the scenario. They cannot use a production supplier, right, to test out the issues. So always remember, from a project perspective, from your client perspective, in production, this should always be equal to no. Test project is equal to no in production. Now they will give it as a requirement. What he will do? How will you do it? Now think on this part. We will come to this part a little bit later. But there is one question that Manoj, in one of our project, we are having supplier.ariba.com, that is supplier Ariba network. Then there is another thing, buyer.ariba.com, that is buyer Ariba network. What does it means? So in our previous session, we talked about that integration topic, right? Integration topic is there. There we have talked about one scenario, commerce automation, that means P2P direct, how this particular configuration is done. So that's a connection between Ariba network and ERP. So how ERP will directly connect with Ariba network? Through the buyer Ariba network settings. So that means buyer Ariba network is not for creating PR, PO, GR, sourcing project contract. Buyer Ariba network is a specific set of configuration tools which is given to the administrator, who can use it to configure different rules, configure different integration settings. So majority of the time, if you are a integration consultant, you need to have access for that. Buyer.ariba.com. Exactly. Okay. So keep this thing in your mind. But remember, your normal end user will never get access to buyer.ariba.com because it's just for the admin. Okay. But for today's session, keep this thing simple. Ariba buyer is used by buyers only. Ariba network, in this case, supplier.ariba.com will be used by suppliers only. Okay. Now, commerce automation, we have basically not explained the scenario, but we said it's a configuration, scenario, integration scenario, which we are going to understand in our integration sessions. Yeah, we cannot complete each and everything right in today's session. So that is why I will urge that if some of you are coming for the first time in today's session and have not attended a demo, please go through the demo recordings. Ask for the video of the recording. I think when you register with ourselves, you will get a G Drive access. In the G Drive access, recording folder will be there. Demo session will already be present over there. And today's session, I think by today end of the day or by tomorrow, you will get that recording also. So you can watch it and view it. Yeah. So commerce automation, we will see in our integration scenario session. Exactly. Now, how will you do it? Default test project is equal to no in production and yes can't be selected by end user. How will you do it? This is the requirement of the client. Think on this thing. So what we will be doing right now, we will be taking a break for 10 minutes. Okay. So have some coffee, have some tea, have some cold drinks. Okay. And after 10 minutes, we will continue with our session. But during these 10 minutes, I will suggest think on this requirement of your client. Client has given you this requirement. How will you do it? Okay. So let's take a break over here, guys, for 10 minutes. And after this break, we will basically continue with our session. Yeah. Thank you, guys. So let's take a break over here. But during this break, please do think about it. Guys, am I audible to all of you? Can you please confirm in the chat box? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys for your confirmation. Excuse me. Now, some of you guys, excuse me, are saying to me that Ariba administrator can do this. Uh, in Oracle, we have, we can disable fields. Okay. Now, first and foremost thing, those of you guys who are coming from SAP background, okay, like, excuse me, SAP MM या फिर SAP SRM. Now, what will happen is you will say, "Are Manoj, simple na? I will tell the developer to do this stuff. Developer, I will give the logic to developer. Developer will basically configure this thing. हो गया ना? Done. But remember, MM, SRM, even S4 HANA. S4 HANA cloud is not used by majority of the client. They will never use it. Those client who are not having money, they will say, okay, I will pay you less. I will use S4 HANA on cloud. Because SAP, we have worked with this thing. So whenever we will basically work with the SAP internal team, they will only say that S4 HANA on-premise is being implemented. Now, these are on-premise system. On-premise system means what? It is installed in the application server which belongs to the client. So what will happen? क्या होगा? I will have the configuration options. Okay, very good. I can also change the source code. कोई रोकने वाला ही नहीं होगा. Nobody will be there to stop you. हाँ, only thing which the client might say, boss, we are changing the code. If not in an enhancement point, if not in a body, what will happen? Then there will be issues. So what's the issue? The issue is Ariba will not give support. Then the client will say, does not sorry, not Ariba. SAP will not give the support. Not an issue. We will give a support partner. Accenture, Infosys, right? Wipro, Capgemini, Tech Mahindra. They are there. TCS. They will take care of it. Not an issue. But Ariba is not an on-premise solution. It does not mean कि, कि Ariba does not have application server. It does have application server. But that application server used to belong to SAP. But in next month, it is going to change. So SAP Ariba is going to migrate from their own data center to GCP, Google Cloud Platform. In that application server, SAP Ariba's application is installed. Okay. So that means what? So as a client, you cannot change the code. So if you ask me, Manoj, have you seen the source code? Forget about changing it. Then I will say no. As a functional consultant, forget about changing the code. You cannot see the code. Why? Because it's an on-cloud solution. Now, yes, you have given the correct answer. Enhancement request. So what we have to do? Simple, na? What we have to do? Now, what will happen? Enhancement request. Go to connect.ariba.com. Log in with your client's credential. Okay, and create an enhancement request. So what will happen once you give the logic, in the enhancement request? Ariba engineering team will basically change the code and they will do it. How? Quite simple. Go to Ariba Connect and then do what? create enhancement request and give them the logic, and it's done. Okay, now what logic? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, this is the first logic. Very good. What's the issue? Yes can't be selected as end user. Arey Manoj, how we will understand this guy is an end user? How? Now you are basically thinking, yes, how we will do this thing or where we will do this thing. So the answer is very, very simple. So role. Role is generally called as user groups in Ariba. So please don't think what is the meaning of group. So yeah, I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. Don't worry. Because why I raised this thing, because all of you guys should understand what is enhancement request, what is done within the enhancement request, and when to use the enhancement request. Lot of Ariba consultant I have seen, they don't understand when to use enhancement request, and some of them, they will understand about it, they will raise an enhancement request with not enough information. Ariba will immediately reject it. You know, whenever I raise an enhancement request, what is the waiting period I have to get? 3 months. That's the average thing. And if you're working for a US client, it will take 5 months. So you have raised an enhancement request after waiting for 3 months. They are saying, boss, you have given a wrong requirement. Explain it clearly. Can you understand the frustration? So all of you should know what is enhancement request. That is why I am raising these points one by one. So one is the sourcing agent role, another is sourcing manager. Now this we will give to the normal end user. Who will do what? Who will create sourcing project, approve sourcing project, do the awarding and all those stuff. Very good. Okay, Manoj, no issue. What about sourcing manager? We will give it to admin. Oh, very good. Now, please share your views, guys. Who is the admin? Who is the admin? If I use the word admin in Ariba, what does it mean? Excuse me. Now, whenever I'm saying admin, what all of you guys are saying is consultant. Yes, that is right. Functional consultant. Which functional consultant? Us. But remember, that is between you and me. But here I'm talking about giving an administrator role to the client side. Huh? Manoj, what you were speaking? Yes. In Ariba, there will be two kinds of end users. The first one is the junior end user who will work on the transactional document. Then there are senior guys, like 10% of the users. They will have administrative right. Now, administrative rights does not means over here template rights. No, they will not go into the template and check this thing. But what will happen? These guys, admin guys, they can view any sourcing project. They can edit any sourcing project. Generally in Ariba, what happens is, like, if I am creating the sourcing project, I can only edit it. That is the standard. So any other end user goes, they can view the sourcing project, but they cannot edit it unless and until they are having the sourcing manager role. Yes, and this kind of thing is required. Why? Because to reduce the issues. So some sourcing agents will come to you and they will say, "Are Manoj, I have given something wrong. Now I have published the sourcing project. Supplier is saying this is wrong, change it. But I am on vacation or I am on leave. So can you please change it?" Then I will say, "Are boss, I will do this thing. I'm having a change request for changing the template. Yeah, 10 templates at a single time. So who will complete that work? Are Manoj, please do it now." So I will try to avoid it. So what I will do, I will say to the client, "Are boss, you are having some senior officers or managers, right? Procurement manager, not head of the department, but maybe procurement manager, senior manager. Those guys, if I give them admin rights, what they can do? That means sourcing manager role. They can say, okay, okay, don't go to Manoj. He is busy in working on other things. He is busy in solution architecting. He is working on multiple projects. So don't go to him. Come to me. Oh, this is your sourcing project? Okay. What is the wrong data? I will change it. Because that guy has that role, sourcing manager. So they can do it. So in this way, we can understand that admin means not functional consultant who can edit any sourcing project, and end users are sourcing agent. So what I will say over here, yeah, it's like a super user. Yeah, exactly correct. Exactly correct. So here I will basically say a very simple thing. Key, sorry. So that means what I'm saying, if role sourcing agent is present, now when sourcing agent will be present? If you are an end user. Exactly correct. Exactly correct. So if you are an end user, then only the sourcing agent role will be present, else it won't be present. Acha Manoj, okay, okay, okay. Very, very clear. That means I am basically writing a check over here that if sourcing agent is present, that means this is the end user, hide the field. If not present, and who is coming into this sourcing screen, that means that guy is having sourcing manager role. So for that guy, please don't remove this thing. Okay, plain and simple. Now, interesting fact about ERs. All of you will say, okay, very good, Manoj. So we will give this logic. What will happen? So Ariba's engineering team, not every Ariba employee, but Ariba's engineering team, they will do what? They will basically start working on this code change. Now, some of you will ask, "Achha, what's the programming language over here, Manoj? What is the use?" So, use is Java. They use Java, but the employees of Ariba who are working in engineering department, they will have access to this thing, to the code, and they can change it. And always remember this logic which I have given, it will be implemented only for this client. That is why I said to all of you guys that when you will log in into Ariba Connect, please don't use your own user ID password. So all of you will say own user ID password means, see, when you are working for implementation or support company like what, Accenture, Capgemini, TCS, Infosys, Wipro. So you will basically have a Ariba network ID from your project only, right? Not project, sorry, from your company only. Don't log in with that. Why? Because if you log in with that and ask for these changes, what will happen? Ariba will do the changes in your Infosys or Accenture or Wipro system. So log in always with your client's ID. So in this way, Ariba will understand, okay, this requirement is basically for what? For this particular client. Okay. And always remember the changes which you are doing over here, customization changes or enhancement request changes. These are always client dependent. Otherwise, what will happen? The other client will say, I don't need this field. Why you're basically making it visible? Okay, exactly. Now, one of the very uh, controversial topic. Now, all of you are happy. Oh, enhancement request is there, Manoj, so I can use it. I am very, very happy. Then I will say, hold on. This small enhancement request will cost not much, only 3000 USD. Okay, only 3000 USD. If you are giving a very big enhancement request, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 USD. Now, do you think this logic which you have given, is it fixed? Can't it be changed after 1 year? Means like, go live have happened. After 1 year, you're deciding, Are boss, I'm going to change this thing. Means your client is coming to you with change logic. Can't it not happen? Because whenever I go to any Ariba consultant, what they will say, oh yes, we will always have it in the implementation side. Then I will basically say that whatever enhancement request logic which you have given, will it remain the same after 2 years, after 5 years? You go and ask this question to your client, then client will immediately say, no boss, our logic can change. So today we are having sourcing agent, we are following the standard rules, very good, standard rules. Tomorrow we decide that we are not going to use standard roles. We will start creating custom roles and assign the sourcing agent role over there. So what will happen? This check which you are doing, it will fail. So again, I have to basically update the logic. Key if role is equal to custom role, then this thing should happen. If role is equal to something else, then what will happen? I need to change the enhancement request. Now all of you guys are saying very good. So Manoj, the next time when we are changing this logic, it will be free, no? Then I will say hold on. It will not be free at all. Again $3,000. Again $3,000. So that means Manoj, every enhancement request which we are creating at the time of implementation project, it will cost the client 3000 USD. Yes. And in the support project also, when they will change the logic, it will cost 3000 USD. Yes. Now suppose this kind of requirement is coming very frequently, what you will do? Not one. Let's say 50 requirement came like this, or 100 requirements. What you will do as a functional consultant? Contract with SAP, SAP will say the contract is $3,000 minimum. for every enhancement request. We can give you 5 enhancement requests free. Only one time, enhancement requests free. After that, you are having 100. So pay for 95. Now what you will do? See, these are the question which you should be asking yourself. Because if you accept this thing from the client and you raise it, then what will happen is like SME will say, okay, this is the bill. In the next billing cycle, next financial year billing cycle, it will come that, okay, since you have given us 100 requirement, 105 requirement, 5 enhancement request is free. So 100 into 3000, 300,000 USD. Immediately your client will say, Are Manoj, why you did not spoke about this thing earlier? Why you did not spoke about this thing? Yes, and this I have literally seen. Lot of forget about this TCS Infosys, Deloitte, KPMG, the big four organization, PwC, ENY. You know, I have seen Ariba consultant over there saying 200 enhancement requests required. Huh? $600,000, more than $500,000 you're going to spend. And remember, this logic will change also in the future. Huh? Yes, Manoj, this is a very big issue. Yeah, because this is a very, very important thing for all of you guys to remember. Just a moment, guys. Now, first and foremost thing which I want to basically talk about over here is what? How will you do this thing? So in that case, you say to your client, "Ki boss, how I tackle enhancement request? Boss, okay, you have given me 100 requirement. You have given me 100 requirement. I am very, very happy. Now you tell me which of them are mandatory for you, which of them are wish list. Why? Because if it is on premise, then you can abuse the system a lot. Okay, but here in Ariba, you cannot abuse the system, and if you want to abuse the system, you have to pay huge money. Then client will say, "Hare, ha." So out of this 100 requirement, 10 requirement is our mandatory things. 90 you drop it. All these 6+ project which I have done till now, everywhere, whenever I have said this thing, immediately this 100 or 150 requirement came down to 10 or 15. And the largest project which I have done, it was basically like uh, implementation plus rollout in 56 countries. 25 was the enhancement request, and that is the maximum enhancement request which I have seen till now. Whenever I go to a project, the first thing I tell to a client is how much money you're going to spend out of your pocket. When they realize that cloud solutions are different, you have to spend a huge amount of money. Immediately, the higher management of the client will say only regulatory slash legal compliance related thing we will do it with ERs if it is not present in Ariba. Apart from that, we will not do anything else. No wish list. So please remember, there are a lot of Ariba consultants who don't understand Ariba. So what they will do? They will say enhancement request, enhancement request, enhancement request. So the client will say, if I have to spend $0.5 million in every enhancement in the enhancement request, then why we are keeping you? Just to create enhancement request and follow up with SAP? No. So as a functional consultant, there are two things which you should understand: when to use ER, when to not use ER. So my suggestion is, when to use ER, when client is basically having something which is a limitation of Ariba. Now, what is the limitation? See, this create sourcing project screen which you are seeing here, if client asks me to change anything, I cannot do that. Why? Remember, this template which we were basically discussing, this will only come into the effect when sourcing project is being created. That means in this screen, I will fill up some data and I will click on create. When I will click on create, then the control will go to the template, not before that. So that means when we are in create sourcing project screen, same thing, it will be there for contract as well. So when we are going to contract, there also, I will ask all of you guys, key, remember, you cannot control it with the help of template. So enhancement request. So here, you have to tell to your client to save money, only tell me the regulatory requirement or the legal requirement which is required, and I will basically create an enhancement request for them. But for other things, I will not do anything. Okay? So keep this thing in your mind. Very, very important thing. So that is why I wanted to bring this enhancement request concept, so that you can also understand that, like, we are not going to use ER everywhere. It does not make sense. Okay. Now, base language English, currency US dollars. It is coming from the user profile. Region. Now I will click on region. All these things you are basically able to see. Now, uh, what kind of data is region? So it's always a master data. Now let me ask all of you guys that uh, this region master data, it can be maintained in Ariba. It can be copied from ERP also. Okay. Now all of you will say, okay, Manoj, very, very correct. So we can do this stuff, right? What stuff? That either we can maintain this region data in Ariba, or we can copy it from ERP. Yes, Manoj. Now, which one will you prefer? If your client asks you, okay, there are two options, very good. Which one we should implement? What would be your what you can say recommendation over here? Now, some of you are saying ERP. Majority of you guys are saying ERP. Some of you guys are saying Ariba. What's the reason? Now, majority of you guys are saying one source of truth, easy handling, synchronized system. Exactly. Uh, Why? What will happen if I maintain different regions in ERP and in Ariba? No, MDM, master data management, is basically part of your supplier. Data inconsistency, I will say it's correct, but try to understand this thing. So whenever we are having a master data, why master data is required? Now all of you will say to me, Manoj, master data is required because we will use the master data to create our transactional data. Exactly. Now, if you are having different region in ERP versus different region in uh, Ariba. Now, suppose you are basically, forget about the sourcing project. You're creating a PO. Here you have given Iowa or Kansas maybe or Kentucky. Now this PO gets replicated to ERP. In ERP you don't have Kentucky. You have US only. What will happen? Exactly. Exactly. Error in replication. So Manoj, what will happen? The PO will fail in S4 or in ERP. Why? Because the what? Because the region does not match. It's not present in ERP. So that is why, see, lot of Ariba consultant when they talk about integration, they are not willing to talk about this process impact. Whenever I will basically say integration, oh Manoj, we will go to CIG. Are boss, okay, you will go to CIG. What you will do? Web services configuration. Are what you will do in web services configuration? That will be done by basis consultant. Huh? Then what is our job? You have to understand the impact. See, we can maintain this data in ERP and through integration we can bring it into Ariba. Okay, very good. And we can also maintain this data in Ariba manually. But why we should avoid it? Because the integration at a later stage for transactional document will fail. Okay, Manoj. So that is what you basically are trying to say to me. Exactly. Exactly. So keep this thing in your mind. It's a very, very important thing for all of you guys to remember. Now, it will come through the help of master data integration. Very good. Baseline spend means you are basically trying to give a uh, uh, not exact amount, but estimated amount that, okay, this is the amount which we are going to, what you can say, like, we are going to use in our or spend in our sourcing. I will say 100,000. Okay, very good. Predecessor project we don't have, we will not use it, but it will be handy in our contract session. Execution, this is a custom field. RFQ or tender number, this is also a custom field. Now, why we have done it? Because so that you can also understand that if your client asks certain fields which is needed to be added over here, that okay, some field I will add because of regulatory requirement. So then I will say yes. For that, the client will be willing to spend money, but they cannot say 30 fields I want, 30 custom fields here. Again, you have to create 30 enhancement requests. Ariba will reject it. So keep this thing in your mind. It's a very, very important thing. Okay. So keep this thing in your mind. No, no, no. Execution strategy and RFQ or tender number is a custom field. It's not a standard field, guys. Please remember. So when you go to your project and there you see these two fields are not coming. Why it is not coming, Manoj? Because these two are custom field. Okay. Similarly, the cost center and WBS element, these are also custom. Why? Because remember in Ariba, cost center WBS element are generally used at the downstream level, not at upstream level. Now, why it is there? Because we are giving a client demo. We're giving a demo to our client. That is why we have basically added all these four fields over here. In the screen, any change, so create sourcing project, any change, what will happen? It's a ER. Okay. So keep this thing in your mind. Now we will basically use this template and we'll click on create array. Now, once we did that, okay, what happened is like our sourcing project has been created now. So now all of you will say very good, Manoj. So that means once the sourcing project is created, the screens and rules will be controlled by template. Now here, if you are saying, Manoj, why this response started is coming? Uradena, like I want to remove this thing. That I can do with the help of template. Bidding rules. Oh, why it is coming? Enable approval. I want the approval to be configured within the template. Don't show this thing to the end user. Yes, that can also be configured. Okay. So these are, not the only thing, but few things where you should be very, very clear. Because if you're not clear that when to use ER, when to not use ER, this will always be a big issue. Very big issue for all of you guys. So please do remember this stuff. Okay. Now what we are going to do, we are going to take a small break. Yeah, because I understand, it's a long thing, very, very long thing, which we need to keep in our mind. So we will take the 10 minutes break. After that, we will continue with our session. Okay. Yeah. So let's take a break over here, guys, for 10 minutes. And after the break, we will basically continue with our session. Remember, we are not completing our session. Just 10 minutes break. After that, we will continue. Yeah. So let us take a break, guys, for 10 minutes. Yeah. Thank you. Guys, am I audible to all of you? Can you please confirm in the chat box? Yeah, yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, so please remember one thing. When most of you are basically saying the template, how the template comes. So template is not like a what you can say, like a temporary thing. When you basically configure the template and publish it, what happens is like any number of end user can use it to create n number of sourcing project. So let's say, for example, for my client, I have created one sourcing project template. This sourcing project template will be used by all the end user to create all the sourcing project for the client. So remember, it's not like one time use, after that you have to change it. No. Now, sometimes what happens is like certain clients will say, I need different business rules, I need different approval workflow. Let's say for India, I will need different business rules, different approval workflow. For US, I will need different set of approvals, different approval logic, and different business rules. So in that case, I will say, example, one custom template for India, one custom template for US. All the end users belonging from India will use that custom sourcing project template to create the sourcing project within India. And the custom US template will be used by the US users for creating their all sourcing project within US. Okay, so that is the concept of templates. Okay, don't worry, on this thing we will have session, and template sessions will be separate session, and those sessions will be quite what you can say, bit technical. Yeah, but today I gave you all an idea. Now what I will do, I will basically keep this thing as tomorrow. So what do you mean by response start date? You can see asterisk, that means it's a mandatory thing, and this is not coming from us or through configuration. This is standard thing. Response start date means basically uh, uh, what you can see, like when this particular sourcing project will be visible to the supplier. Envelope rules we will talk about in our template configuration. Yeah, majority of the time envelope rules won't be used at all. Okay, only in certain cases where your client is a government client, then you will need the concept of envelope. So we will discuss this thing in our template configuration. Excuse me. Okay. Yeah. Now let's talk about the response start date. Response start date means when we publish the sourcing project, to whom it will go? It will go to the supplier, right? Now supplier will say, excuse me, Are Manoj, when I will put my what you can say, uh, response against the sourcing project, when I will create it, कब create करे? Then I will say, boss, you just cannot wait for eternity. So what I will do, I will give you a start date, I will give you an end date. In between that period only, you should create your response against the sourcing project and submit it. So when that period will start, response start date. So whenever I'm saying response start date is tomorrow 10 a.m. So even if I publish the sourcing project right now, the supplier won't be able to create the response in Ariba network before 17th. Okay. So please keep this thing in your mind. Okay. Now due date. Due date is basically the end time. Okay. So I will basically say tomorrow, maybe 10:30 a.m. 10:30 a.m. So that means any supplier whom I will basically add in this sourcing project, they can basically do what? They can basically bid against it and create the response tomorrow between 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. So before 10 a.m. they cannot create the response, and after 10:30, what will happen? They also cannot create a response, neither submit it. So that is why these two fields are mandatory. Now, that is why these two fields are mandatory. Estimated award date. This is not a mandatory thing, but from business side, this is important. Why? Because this is giving an idea that okay, by 17th we will complete, approximately we will complete the sourcing project. Okay, so that is the meaning of estimated award date. But remember, this is not mandatory from Ariba point of view, but from business point of view, this is important. Next is sourcing project a transaction to initiate procurement. No, this is basically an RFQ. In MM or SRM, you will have RFQ, right? Request for quotation. Same thing, sourcing project. And to some extent, yes, you are right. Sourcing project transaction to initiate procurement, that will be true in case of S2P, source to pay. Yeah, that is the starting point. But for P2P, again, there is another scenario, right? P2P will never start with sourcing project. It will start with PR, purchase requisition. Okay? Yeah. Now, let's talk about the bidding rules. Now, first and foremost thing, when I'm talking about bidding rules, this should never be given to the end user. Why? Now, let's say enable approval for team grading. If this guy say yes, most of you are expecting that uh, for team grading, approval workflow has been configured. So if this end user select yes, what will happen? That approval will come into the picture for grading. Wrong. Here, bidding rules is basically saying that approval for team grading required. You will say yes. What will happen? Standard one level approval will come. And who is that guy? That guy is nothing but the creator of the sourcing project. So can you imagine? The grading is done by this sourcing project owner, and that guy is approving the grading. So it's almost equal to non-approval. So always remember, in bidding rules, these are not end user dependent field. These are always functional consultant dependent field. So at the beginning of today's session, I was saying to all of you guys, right? In template, which business rule you will configure. So always remember there are two types of fields. So end user dependent field means what? It will depend on end user, and end user will enter the data slash options in sourcing project. Okay? And when I say functional consultant, so functional consultant will config this option in template. So functional consultant field means what? So functional consultant field means that as a functional consultant, we will configure this thing kahan pe? In template. Ah, okay, Manoj, very good. Both badhiya. But the end user cannot change anything in the sourcing project. Oh, Now, what's a good example of functional consultant dependent field? This bidding rules. Now here, if you give this thing as yes, what will happen? Standard thing will come. That means almost equal to that of non-approval. Almost equal to that of non-approval. So on the other hand, if I basically make it a functional consultant dependent field, and what I can do, I can create a task approval for team grading. There I will have 4 levels of approval. And within that, I will ask the user, boss, is this task mandatory or optional? I will keep it as optional. End user can make it mandatory. So that means what? That means I'm suppressing the standard, and based on the client's requirement, what I'm doing, I am basically putting my own logic over here for the approval. Okay, and that is how I'm going to do this particular thing, plain and simple. Okay, so that is why you will see only 3 rules are present over here. Most of you are thinking in template also bidding rules will be having only 3 rules. Wrong. You will see bidding rules will be having somewhere around 18 to 20 rules within the template, and all of them should be configured by whom? By the functional consultant within the template. None of them should be given over here. Why? Because then compliance issue, legal issue will come into the picture. This will lead to a lot of issues later on. So please avoid that thing. Next, currency rules. Currency rules means what is happening over here? Here, participant means supplier over here. So allow supplier to select bidding currency. What does it actually means? Now, just give me a moment, guys. Just give me a moment. I think somebody has came to our home. Just give me a moment. Yeah, apologies, guys. Uh, some neighbor came to our home, so we're just attending to them. Yeah, currency rules. Now, you're saying that allow supplier to select bidding currency? Yes, always yes, right? Now, for example, you are from India. Your supplier is also from India. You will use INR. Will supplier use USD? No, right? Even if the supplier says, Manoj, I will use USD. And I say, what have you got? Mad? How I can pay you in USD? So that means, Manoj, we will not give this option. We will always keep it as no. No. Suppose you are basically saying that I want to buy an aeroplane. Okay, very good, Manoj. Now, can you buy it anywhere within India? The answer is no. You have to go to Embraer, Boeing, Airbus. Now they are foreign suppliers. They will say, if Boeing means, they will say USD. If Airbus means, they will say Euro. I will give the quotation in Euro. Boeing will say, I will give the quotation in USD. Why? Because this is a global sourcing project. Now, now you have got a little bit of understanding that there can be 2 types of bidding process. So under which option we should put the currency rules? End user dependent field or functional consultant dependent field? Now, some of you, it's evenly spread. Some of you guys are saying functional consultant, some of you guys are basically saying end user. So let me just clarify this thing. This is a perfect example of end user dependent field. Why? Because when I am creating a template, I won't be able to say that how many sourcing project will be created out of the template. Oh, correct, Manoj. Correct. Very, very correct. So if we are not able to say ki how many sourcing projects will be created out of the contract, sorry, the sourcing project will be created out of the template, then how I can say ki boss, within a template which sourcing project will be local, which one will be a global? So we cannot say. So that is why we have to give it to the end user. So when an end user is creating a sourcing project, that guy knows, oh, this is a local bidding process. Currency of me as well as the supply will be same. But when they are creating a global sourcing project, they will understand, oh, my currency is INR, but Boeing will give the bidding in USD. Airbus will give it in euro. So this is a end user dependent field. Exactly. So currency rules is an example of end user dependent field, and bidding rules is an example of functional consultant dependent field. See, now you understand that why I said to all of you guys that the process which we are showing to you over here, it's never a end user thing. Why? Because we are basically learning the process from a functional consultant perspective. And now when we will go to the next, in the template configuration, at that point of time, all of you will say to me, Manoj, Array, business rules are there. Which one to basically move it to the end user? Which one we should configure? Oh, end user dependent field and functional consultant dependent field based on that. And then at that point of time, I will once again recollect this point and I will tell you, okay, this option end user, this option functional consultant. So that means when you go to a project, before working in the project only, you're understanding that which one will be functional consultant dependent field, which one will be end user dependent field. You will never make a mistake while you go to the project, and your client will say, not escalate anything, that hey boss, currency rules why you are configuring, but bidding rules you're giving to my end user and end user is choosing wrong things. This will never happen. Exactly. So that is what we wanted to show to all of you guys. Okay, try to understand these things because these are very, very important. Now you decide that this is a global contract. So sorry, global sourcing project. So I will select it as yes. Once you select it as yes, other options are coming. So currency exchange rate to participant, that means so exchange rate, yes. Now see, this exchange rate is coming over here. Now exchange rate is a master data. It can be maintained in Ariba, it can be maintained in ERP. Which one we will prefer? Now all of you are saying ERP. Why? Because remember, before implementing Ariba, do your client maintain the exchange rate? You cannot say no to me. You cannot say no to me. You have to say yes. Where? In ERP. How? They will basically integrate their ERP with a banking solution or a financial company where the exchange rate are maintained, and once in a day they will basically go and fetch the data and maintain it in ERP. Some integration. Or some of you can say manually also OB08 is there, but nobody does it manually. It's not accurate. So that means when you go for Ariba implementation, this data is already available in ERP, and every day it is basically getting changed. So why you will do it manually once again, maintain this data in Ariba? Through the master data integration, bring that data into Ariba before the start of the business hours. Or maybe at end of the previous day business hours. So it can be like, let's say 8:30 to 6 p.m. Your client is, this is the business hours work. So you can basically schedule this exchange rate master data integration to run at 7 a.m. or maybe at 7:30 p.m. My suggestion is 7 to 7:30 p.m. would be good, because in the morning what will happen, there will be rush. So at that point of time it fails, a lot of issues will happen. That we will discuss in our integration sessions. But always remember, currency exchange rate will come from ERP. Why? Because it is maintained in ERP before Ariba also. So this data is coming from ERP. Very good. Now, the next thing which I will go. Administrator, you cannot change here. If you want to change it in the template. Okay? But this procurement authority, bias team, and all those things which you are seeing, these are custom. Okay? Surrogate bidders, basically surrogate bidding process is a obsolete bidding process. Nobody uses that right now because of legal issues. Why? Because surrogate bidding means what will happen? Supplier will basically give authorization to the buyer saying, okay, this is the amount which you should give in the RFP, and you do it on my behalf. So surrogate bidder, that means the buyer will act on behalf of supplier, and what they will do, they will create a response against the sourcing project. Now why it's not being used right now? Because of legal issue. Because supplier will call them and say all these things, and then they will say, no, I haven't given this quotation. They have given a higher quotation, buyer has given it out of conflict of interest. So that is why this surrogate bidding concept, even though it is present in Ariba, none of the client uses it because of this issue only. Okay, now basically just a moment. Project owner, we can basically select anybody, okay, by searching a name over here, and these are nothing but your like different user ID or different users which will come over here. Okay, now what do you mean by the concept of project owner? This is a very important concept. Project owner, not only in sourcing project but also in contract. So the project owner basically means project owner means owner of the sourcing project. Okay, what does it mean? It means this particular person can edit the sourcing project, or the administrator can, nobody else. So in this case, the best practices is put sourcing manager role as the administrator. So whoever is having sourcing manager role, they would be able to edit the sourcing project, and by default this is the project owner, and project owner will edit the sourcing project. Now why project owner is a very important thing. Let us say tomorrow your client comes, and generally it happens, what they will say, Manoj, there are certain users, okay, certain third party users. Now you will say third party user matlab kya hai? What do you mean by that? So third party users means what will happen is like big client, they will outsource their work, that like creating sourcing project or creating contract or creating PR, PO, doing receiving to whom? To certain what? To certain external employees. Once they basically move this thing to external employees, what will happen? Once they move it to the external employees, they should not get all the roles, right? And the approval for them should also be different. Now, how I will understand that this uh, end user is basically a third party user? Now, some of you will basically say, Manoj, give a custom rules. Then again, if I give a custom rule, I have to create an enhancement request. Extra money cost for the client. So what I will do, I will say, let's put enhancement request out of the picture. As a functional consultant, how I will handle this thing in template. So I will basically say, give me the list of all the third party users. Generally, it will be like 15 to 20, not more than that. Because in Ariba only, the maximum users which I have seen is 2000. And for a very big project, that 60, almost like 60 country project which I told you, that was for 2000 buyers. In general, it will be somewhere around 700 to 800 users maximum for an average size company. Average size means I'm talking about like where you're going to do the implementation in 20 countries, 25 countries there. So within that, hardly 20 to 25 people will be there who will act as third party user, external consultant. So for them, we will need extra approval. So how I can do that? Once I get that list, then I will basically put a logic where in the template, that is equal to the list of 25 users which I've got from the client. Extra level approval. Within the template only I can configure. I have literally seen many Ariba consultants. They are coming to us and they are saying, "Are Manoj, this kind of requirement only through enhancement request, and Ariba will charge $10,000 for this." I can do it free of cost. Why? Because I know the project owner concept. So in the template, the project owner concept is there. So I will check. Okay, if project owner is in the list of these 25 users, one more level of approval. If not, then extra level of approval is not required. Done. Client's requirement is done. So that is why project owner is very important concept, specifically for functional consultant. Exactly. So now I think all of you guys will say to me that, Manoj, you are not showing us the process. Basically, you are prepping us or preparing us for the template session. Exactly. So the logic which you will, the configuration which you will do in the template will come from the process. And that is what we are discussing in the process session. Okay. Now, what next? The next thing basically, which we will do is we'll go and add suppliers. So click on invite participant. Okay. Remove all the filter. Okay. Search. There will be too many suppliers which will come. Taking too much time. Let's wait for it. So we can add a number of suppliers. Please remember this. In sourcing project, we can add a number of suppliers. But just one more uh, viewpoint which I want to basically add. What do you say on this part, guys? So we will add supplier randomly. Now that is where the question is coming. Now some of you guys are saying based on the agreement history, all those things. Some of you guys are saying suppliers. I don't know. So please remember, you go to your client and you ask them, this business users, boss, how will you create a sourcing project? So immediately they will say, we will have a requirement from the team. Then you will say, okay, बहुत बढ़िया, very good. What next? Then they will say, hold on, hold on. We will not go to the system and create a sourcing project immediately. Acha, then what we will do? What we will do? We will do market research. Suppose you want to buy a, costly laptop, which is upward of 1 lakh INR, or maybe around 2000 USD. Will you immediately, go to the Flipkart and order? Or you will go to the Amazon and immediately order? No, never. What he will do then? Then he will basically do a research. Okay, uh, my uh, requirement is productivity with, little multimedia usage. So I will not prefer a gaming laptop. Gaming laptop is of no good to me, but I do prefer a laptop which has got powerful processor, more RAM for productivity purposes, and for my uh, spare multimedia usage, I will prefer a 4K resolution OLED what screen, 4K resolution OLED screen. Now, with this 2000 USD, it might not be possible. Maybe 3500 USD, it is possible. So what I have to do, I have to scale down. Okay, OLED with full HD resolution. Yeah, I can get that with this 2000 USD range. So then you zoom in on 2 3 products, and then what you will do, once you zoom in on these 2 3 products, you will go to the Flipkart or Amazon, check their reviews and all those things. After doing the research, you will say, okay, I am going to buy this one. Same thing. So whenever a business user will basically get a requirement from their team, they will not immediately say, "Arey, I will go and create a sourcing project in the system." Then what they will do? They will do a market research. And once they do the market research, they will understand that okay, we are having 3 suppliers in our database who cater to this requirement. So I will add them. But I think 3 suppliers is not good enough for a competition. We need 2 more suppliers. So what we will do, we will basically hunt for new suppliers for this requirement, 2 new suppliers. So what you will do, you will start the onboarding process for those suppliers, 2 suppliers. Once they are onboarded, then what you will do, you will create a sourcing project and add those 5 suppliers. So please remember, immediately getting the requirement and directly going into the screen and creating a sourcing project, that will never happen in real life. So this will never be added randomly. Okay. So please keep this thing in your mind. Okay. So let's say, for example, I have added 2 suppliers. Okay. Click on OK. So you can see 2 suppliers has been added. Very good. Now, once we have added a supplier, we can add it, add one after another supplier or multiple suppliers in different way. Now what we will do, we will go to the content. Simple. Now here also we will click on add line item. High performance laptop. Now commodity. Okay. So we can see this commodity codes. What is commodity code, guys? Can you find this field in ERP? Ah, now see, this is the point which I want to basically discuss. Now all of you guys are basically saying material code or material group, right? But material group and commodity code are not same. Now all of you will say why? Why is it so? Because of a very simple thing, that material group is custom. Every company will have its own custom things. But on the other hand, in Ariba, the commodity code is UNSPSC. Okay, so that means what? United Nations Specified Product and Services Commodity Code. These are UNSPSC commodity code. So UNSPSC commodity code and material group are not same. Okay, so just a moment, just a moment. Yeah, yeah. So that is what I've been basically saying over here. So you have to remember that we have to be very, very clear that what is the commodity code. So the commodity code is basically what you can say, uh, United Nations Specified Product and Services Commodity Code. Now this UNSPSC commodity code cannot be used directly where in ERP because it does not exist. And UNSPSC is a standardized set of commodity code. That is why remember the Ariba commodity codes and the ERP material group are not same. They are different. So please don't think, oh, I will do a master data integration. I will bring the material group and I will put it in the commodity code. It will not work. Okay, Manoj. So are you saying to me that in this case of commodity code, we have to manually load it in Ariba? Yes, yes. And that is what, if you remember in our demo, I told all of you guys that whenever you are doing a master data integration, make sure the master data exists in ERP as well as in Ariba, and the format of the data must be same. Now here you can say, Manoj, material group is equivalent to that of commodity code, it is present, but the format are not same because material group is custom format and in Ariba commodity code is standardized set of format, UNSPSC commodity code. That is why we cannot do a master data integration in every project, Ariba project. Whenever we will go, we have to load this as a part of mass data load activity, which we talked in our demo session, right? In our integration topics, I've written down. Are you understanding that why I'm saying that one after another thing? None of the thing in our sessions are coincident. Please don't think, hey Manoj, this is coincidence. We are seeing this thing. No, this is not coincidence. So please remember this thing. Okay. Now let me choose hardware. Again, region we can basically choose. Visible to participant, visible to supplier. Of course, this line item, if it is not visible to supplier, how they will give a quotation against it? Now, some of you guys are going to say to me, Manoj, no bhi hai kya? Yes, but those will be used for other option. Which other option? That option we will basically understand in our tomorrow session. Because in tomorrow session, it will be like quite a different thing. It will be much more complex. Now, no, not this one. Now what we will do, we will click on done. Acha, just a moment. Just a moment. I think some screen has not changed. Just a moment, guys. I think somebody is working on this thing. That is why we are basically getting an issue. Okay, not an issue. So what I will do is like tomorrow, basically I will show you the line item, okay, and uh, questions also. Yeah, those are also important because those two things we have to see it in details. So we will basically carry forward with these things. Why sometimes these things happens is like because as I said, this is also a POC, proof of concept system, which we will also use for our demo to our client specifically before the starting of the project, right? So we use it sometimes. This kind of issues comes because if somebody is basically changing this thing in the template, it will come. Okay, so tomorrow we will basically pick it up, and the template I will basically check it. I think after this meeting, after this training gets over, I will check it and rectify it so that we can add the line item over here very properly. Okay, do we have to map the commodity code with ERP material group? Again, it depends. That is why I'm saying that we have to be very, very careful in which scenario we have to use that. Not in every scenario. Right now, we are in S2P process over there, right? So in S2P process, right now in sourcing and contracting, we don't need it, but that will be required when we go to the downstream scenarios. Yeah, for that we will need it. Yeah, so that is why we will cover this thing in our integration session. Yeah. There is another thing, as you were basically saying, a very advanced thing which came in Ariba, that is basically tactical, called as tactical sourcing. Now, tactical sourcing, as I will tell you, what happens is like it's a very new thing, wonderful thing, but ultimately it's a work in progress, and its functionality, business functionality, is not preferred by any client. Now, you will ask what? So in tactical sourcing, what happens is like based on the commodity code and region, what will happen? Ariba will choose the best supplier and add it to your sourcing project. Now, this looks good, very good from a functional consulting perspective. From the end user perspective, what will happen is like that, uh, just a moment, what I was talking about. Yeah, sometimes I will forget. Yeah, if there is too many questions, sometimes it will forget. Okay, yeah, tactical sourcing. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so that is why guys, I was saying in our demo session that if you ask questions in between, what happens is like I will lose the flow because you can see I don't have any PPT. I'm remembering from my project work and I am basically explaining you exactly. So tactical sourcing, yeah. So what happens is like the end user will basically say, as well as the client, that Manoj, which supplier to invite in our sourcing project, that system should never do that. Why? Because we will select the supplier who will participate in the sourcing project based on our what? Research, market research. After that only we will add it. So that is why I said, it's good on pen and paper, but when you will take it to the client will immediately reject it. Array, boss, three bits and buy. So three suppliers being added automatically, and then basically what happens is like my end user are taking all those wrong suppliers and then basically going ahead, and there what we are having. We are having high priced products. Now, for example, you are having Apple supplier, you are having Dell supplier, you are having HP supplier, you are having Lenovo supplier for laptop. Now you have set the preferred supplier as Apple and Dell. Okay. Now what will happen? Apple and Dell will automatically come. Very good. Apple will, all of us know, will give high quotation. What will happen? Apple will give much more feature compared to Dell. So in that case, Dell will also try to give their highest product or the most costliest laptop they will basically like to offer. So instead of $1,000 laptop, you are basically procuring what? $3,000, $4,000 laptop. But on the other hand, you basically understand that this is just an office laptop. So what I will do, I will basically invite Lenovo, Dell, HP, not Apple. And I will tell them that boss, don't give me too much high ratings. Apple and all those guys are not coming. So you have to give me something between $1,000 to $1,500, not more than that. So they will give their quotation accordingly. So that is how you should be very, very careful about it. Okay. So that is why tactical sourcing, in whichever client I went over there, they were also very interested. They asked me that, Manoj, you tell me what is tactical sourcing. Once I told them about this tactical sourcing, showed them one process, immediately they said no, we are not going to use it. So always remember, automation where user decisions are mandatory is always wrong. Similarly, what Ariba have tried to do, you will see in tomorrow session, only at the end of tomorrow session, that we will be awarding the sourcing project. Once we are awarding the sourcing project, at that point of time, you will see standard is coming scenario. Custom scenario will also come, or manual scenario will also come. Standard scenario is there. And standard scenario, what it will do? It will always award the sourcing project to the lowest bidder, or the bidder who has given the lowest quotation. That might not be the case always. You cannot change it from L1 to L2. From lowest to second lowest, you cannot change it. None of the client will use the standard scenario for awarding. Why? Again, automation, which should be mandatorily be user decisions. That is why. So keep this thing in your mind. Very, very important. Okay. Yeah. So this is what we wanted to show. Remember, it has still not got completed. Sourcing project we have just started. And today's session, we have talked about a lot of scenarios. Why? Because I wanted to basically change your concept. Why? Because whenever participant come to our session and I will say process flow, they will say process flow means end user process. Then I will say no, it's a functional consultant process. Manoj, functional consultant don't need to learn process. Today we were basically learning the process from functional consultant points of view, not from the end user point of view. And now all of you guys understood that what I meant, the process from a learning process from a functional consultant point of view. So we will continue because there are a lot of other things to be seen. Tomorrow also I will show you different points which you will go and ask your other Ariba consultant. They will say enhancement request. I will tell you, I will show that configuration within the system and I will make it dynamic. So that is why I've been saying that the highest number of enhancement requests which I have seen a very big project is 25, not more than that. On an average 15 to 16 SR. That is my count every project. So that is why majority of the client understand that a functional consultant, Ariba functional consultant is indispensable in a project. But if I would have asked for 100 enhancement requests, 200 enhancement requests, they will understand we don't need a functional consultant. Everything can be done with the help of ER. We have to pay money for the ER. Okay. So what I will suggest to all of you guys is, uh, those of you guys who have registered, well and good. Those of you guys who have not registered, please do register, because tomorrow's session, only if you do register, then only you can continue with tomorrow's session. Otherwise, you cannot continue. So please remember this thing. That's the first thing. Second thing is, once you register, what will happen is, like, most probably by tomorrow, okay, a Google Drive link will be sent it to you, and the Google Drive will be basically be what basically be added to your email ID. So you will get the G Drive access, and that G Drive access will be for the whole lifetime. Once you get that access, within that, the first folder is recording. You will have the demo, and as well as today's sessions recording as well. And please go through that. Why? Because the first two sessions are always tough. Why? Because of the thinking process, because of the way which we are setting. You will see from next week onwards, next Saturday, Sunday onwards, you will be quite accustomed to this thing. But today and tomorrow will be a little bit of struggle. Why? Because as I say, that 8.5 years of experience in Ariba, we are dumping in the sessions. So that is why what I want to make sure that after tomorrow's session, you will also get a second session recording. This whole week from Monday to Friday, please go through the demo session recording, session 1 recording, then session 2 recording. Why? Because until and unless you don't go through these 3 session recordings, it will cause issue for all of you guys. So please remember that. Okay. Yeah. So what we are going to do, guys, we are going to basically conclude our session for today. Remember, it is still not completed. Okay. Sourcing, we will continue with our session tomorrow also. Yeah. Supplier part also we will see it tomorrow. Yeah. Once we publish the sourcing project, we will see that thing. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, guys. So let's conclude our session for today. Once again, thanks Pallavi, and thanks Nikita for conducting this session. We will meet once again tomorrow at the same time. Yeah. Thank you, guys.